Hello everyone and welcome to the channel. I'm Emmanuel, I'm an airline pilot and a PMDG 777 beta tester. Welcome to our second flight featuring the 777-200ER, and today we are going to try the Rolls-Royce engines on the British Airways Flight 93 from London Heathrow over to Toronto. I'm fairly sure this is going to be a very interesting one, so let's get right into it. But before we board our aircraft, let's quickly walk over to those engines and have a look at those Rolls-Royce engines, because they just look amazing if you ask me. You will notice that they do hang quite a bit higher than the Pratt & Whitney engines do, and they are a little bit longer than Pratt & Whitney, and the reason they are longer is that you actually have 3 spools in them, just like all those lovely Rolls-Royce engines have them. So overall, I'm sure this is a very different engine, and I'm going to show you on this flight today. So let's get inside. We're boarding through door 2 left, just like we always would. And the one thing that I really notice is the wonderful performance. Just look at how smooth everything is in the sim over here in the Boeing 777. PMDG have just absolutely outdone themselves, creating such a detailed aircraft, really the most system deep long-haul aircraft available in any simulator right now, and nonetheless it's performing absolutely beautifully. So let's take a seat down here in the 777-200ER. And as I mentioned earlier, the Rolls-Royce engines are 3-spool engines. So we've got N1 up here, then you've got N2, and then you have N3. But more on that a little bit later on during our flight. For the time being, let's go ahead and start setting our aircraft up for today's service. And we are going to turn the ADRU on, make sure that the broadband system switch is on. You only have that one with certain antennas installed, by the way. The voice recorder can come on, and then let's do a recall. Check all of those messages up here for anything abnormal that we wouldn't expect at this time. And then also have a look at the engine oil quantity, which is good, and the hydraulic quantity, which is good. Now, with all of those checked, let's go ahead and do the oxygen test on the side over here. And that's looking good as well. The quantity or the pressure is still at 1850. Okay, beautiful. Then let's go right down into the FMS. So it's a 777-200.1. We have the Trent 800 engine installed and the nav database is up to date. Then let's go ahead and get our universal flight tablet and request our flight data from SimBrief. Then we can head over into the charts, departure, Heathrow, airport, and then we can take the taxi chart and the parking stance, and we can also take our SID, and I think that is the 5 Juliet departure today, so let's go ahead and pin that one as well. Now with all of that done, let's go over into the weight and balance. We are going to load our data from SimBrief, and then let's go ahead and have a more detailed look into the flight plan to decide exactly on how much fuel we do want to take. So the thing that we really care about the most here is of course the weather at our destination airport. And looking down here, we can see Toronto has good weather at the moment, but throughout tomorrow it's gonna get rather inconsistent, as we can see just by that incredibly long TAF. The same thing kind of applies to our alternate Montreal, but Montreal actually has fairly good weather conditions, at least around our time of arrival. Now with that in mind, we are flying across the North Atlantic today, and if we do scroll all the way up, we can see that if we depart on time, we're going to arrive just about 10 minutes ahead of schedule, and that's already planned with Costinix 80. So we are flying across the North Atlantic tracks, and that means we may expect to fly a little bit lower. You can see that uses like 500 kilos more, and then, well, we can't really save that much fuel going faster. Like 11 minutes at the cost of 1,400 kilos, not really worth it, but those 500 over here definitely are. So what we can do is to look into here. The planned takeoff fuel is 54.7 plus 500, so 55.2. Then let's round that up. Let's make it 56 tons of fuel, and that looks pretty good to me. So going into the precise loading over here, 55.1 is the standard fuel. We said we wanted 50 6 over here. So 5600 is what we are gonna take, and that's it. Alright, very good. So that's our basic loadout done. Then let's go into the flight plan and let's start setting up our aircraft for today's flight. So we are going to use the GPS position down here, then we are going to do the route request, and based upon SimBrief, we don't need to set any payload or fuel down here anymore. We've done that through the tablet already. So we're just going to select route. British Airways 93 actually should have a call sign of Nana Zulu Yankee. That's still a bug at the moment. One of the few system bugs that you are actually going to find in here. So the route is here. Let's go ahead and load that up. And while that route is loading, we can go ahead and... Sorry for that. We can go ahead and, well, now the route is loaded anyway, so it doesn't matter anymore. So select our departures, 9 right, Compton 5 Juliet, and then the arrival is going to be onto runway 6 left over in Toronto via the Ling 3 arrival and the Woozy transition, and then we can activate and execute that. Let's go ahead and check our route. So Compton, Lima 9 towards Ditsa, November 14 Octet, direct Merak, direct Vatry, direct Resno, and then via Nat Foxtrot towards Nico, which we've got over here, and then via Halton, Kilo Bravo 03 Echo, Yumumi, Tupper, Kilo Bravo 81 Yankee towards Woozy, and from there we are going to join the arrival. Now, if we're on it already, let's go ahead and check the coordinates of our waypoint. For that, remember we are flying across Nat Foxtrot today. So let's go down a bit and find the North Atlantic track message. Here it is, Nat Foxtrot from Resno towards 56 North, 20 West. So we gotta check that waypoint. And that's 5620 indeed. So then we continue on towards 57 North, 30 degrees West. And that's correct as well. Then we continue to 56 North, 40 degrees West. And that is correct as well. And then 54 degrees North and 50 degrees West. And that one is correct as well. Wonderful. Very good. Then let's continue on with our standard instrument departure. So we continue straight out to 2DME from London VOR. That's the 130 Bravo point over there. And we can just check that over here as well. Then it's going to be a right-hand turn onto a track of 281 inbound to 11 DME from London VOR between 3000 and 6000. Then on towards Woodley between 4000 and 6000. 8 DME Compton at 6000, and then Compton at 6000 as well, and all of those are looking good. Very good. Then let's go over here into the route data and load up our winds. Execute, and then onto the progress page. Actually FMC.com, descent uplink, load. Let's wait until those have loaded. Then we can continue to the progress page. We check 3228 nautical miles. And that checks against the flight plan up here as well, just 1 mile difference. Wonderful. So we are departing Heathrow, and we're going to insert that on the fixed page with a 25-mile ring for MSA awareness. The NAVRAD page has nothing important on it. VNAV page, transition altitude 6000, and that is checked against the chart up here as well. Alright, then onto the init reference, and we can just accept our uplink, but let's cross-check it nonetheless, because these uplinks aren't always correct. So, final reserve 2.7, alternate 4.8. If we add the 2, then we end up at 7.5 versus 7.4. Yeah, I told you. Slight change required down here. Flight level 360, cost NX 80, that's correct. Minimum fuel temperature is minus 44. Cruise CG 30. Step size is going to be, well, 0. Because we will enter those steps manually. Then onto the takeoff page, next page, 1000, 1000, and that's basically it. So all I'm going to do now is to enter our step climbs, And we have flight level 380 by Resno. Like this, and then flight level 400 at Halton. Okay, and execute. Well, and that's pretty much everything we need in here. So our FMS is done. Then let's go ahead and leave it over here. And that's it. So with that, on to our overhead panel, where everything's looking good over here. Over here, fueling is complete, so the seatbelts are coming on. Over here, everything's good. Over here, everything's good. Then let's go ahead and go down onto our MCP. Oh no, didn't mean to press the localizer button. Flight director's off and on again. Then checklists, reset, all com, flight information, ATIS request, and we are gonna get the Heathrow ATIS from VATSIM and sent. While we're waiting, let's set up our colleagues ND, and that's pretty much everything done. So hectopascals, outbreak RTO, cycle that FMC selector, and then going down onto the pedestal, we have 1 to 2.8, then we've got 1 to 1.5, everything set as needed over here, and you are gonna get the same stuff. TCAS onto above and Squawk 2000 in standby. Beautiful. So that's all we need. Now for our ATIS, we have Heathrow Information India 2050 automatic, arrival 9 left, departing 9 right, transition level 70, data link clearances are available. Wind 090 at 8, visibility 10, no clouds, temperature 9, QNH 1022. Alright, beautiful. So with that, our weather is on board. And then, what else do we need? Pretty much not a lot. So let's go into the briefing, please. Right, thank you. So we're departing London Heathrow, runway 09 right, via the Compton 5 Juliet departure. Initial climb to 6,000 feet, and we have extra fuel. Well, pretty much not a lot. Let's see what we are predicted to have, though. Nothing, because we don't have the performance yet. Fair enough. Fine with me. Basically 500 kilos, so close to nothing. Well, and apart from that, good weather everywhere, and the MSA is 2,200. Just look at those beautiful frames while I'm wandering around here. Totally like it. Okay, so, well, we have no hotspots for our taxi routing. Stop margin in case of rejected takeoff shall be plenty. We do have some rather strong engines here. You will see a huge difference to our takeoff in Denver yesterday. Now, if we need to make an immediate return, runway 9 left is active more than long enough, and we are going to be overweight, so overweight landing checklist will be read. Apart from that, I have no specials, nothing non-standard as well, and yeah, speed isn't a problem on departure. I'm always thinking about that initial turn, but with our 200 ER we are rather light anyway, at least for a 777 we are. So speed isn't going to be an issue, and in terms of threats, well, to be honest, I don't really see any. You have any threats? Nope. Okay, beautiful. So that's our briefing completed. Then let's say hello to our passengers. Ladies and gentlemen, a very good afternoon from the flight deck. This is your captain speaking. My name is Emmanuel in the name of British Airways. Welcome aboard our Boeing 777-200 on our flight to Toronto. Flight time today will be 7 hours and 10 minutes. We expect a smooth flight at an altitude between 36 to 40,000 feet. We do expect mostly smooth flying conditions, and we will get back to you with the latest weather as we start our approach into Toronto. Thank you very much for your attention, and once again, welcome aboard. Okay, so with that we should now have gotten our load sheet, so let's go ahead and have a look at what we can find on there. So the zero fuel is 176 exactly, and that's a gross weight of 232 tons. Looks pretty much correct. Unable next altitude, we'll work on that later on. So now let's go for our takeoff performance calculation. So performance tool, Heathrow, runway 9 right, and is that runway length correct? I'm not 100% convinced. So sit, airport, I do think we need the general airport chart for that one. Airport. So 3,658. And do we have any intersection figures? Yes, we do. So runway 9 right from November 8, 3351. And 3352 is in here, that's good enough for me. So import the weights, import the weather, calculate, and then we've got 56 degrees assumed temperature. And that's an EPR of 1.355 versus 1.4. Close enough for my taste. Okay, cool. So flaps 5 takeoff at a CG of 29.2, and that's takeoff speeds 147, 150, and 165. And all of those agree with the FMS. Beautiful. So that's our takeoff performance done. Then let's do the pre-flight checklist, please. So, oxygen, tested 100%, flight instruments, heading 269er, altimeter 1022, set left, set right, pre-flight checklist complete. So, the APU is running, then let's set the aircraft up. Ground operations. Then release the jetway, please. Ground service vehicles, release all, door management, close all. Cabin crew, all doors in correction. Cabin crew, all doors in flight. So, arm all. The cargo doors will be closing any moment now, and then remove chocks, please. So, the jetway has just been removed, that's beautiful. Then let's go ahead and do the before start procedure, please. So 165, that's going in, that's going in. Next page for you, runway heading 084. And the initial is 6,000. So ground flight, can we pressurize? Yeah, clear to pressurize. So waiting for the fault light to go out, and then we can do the rest of the pumps. Here we go, the center tank low pressure light is not showing, that's perfect. Trim 5.75, may need a little while, transponder coming on, and then before start checklist, please. And here we go, trim is set now. So typical FS 2024, when we're looking around it does lag a little bit. That's a simulator thing, that's just nothing the airplane can do anything about. It might be lagging for a little bit now as we're reading the checklist, and then eventually it will calm down again. Okay, before start checklist. Flight deck door, closed and locked. MCP, V2, 165, heading 084, altitude 6,000. Takeoff speeds, V1, 147, VR, 150, V2, 165. CDU pre-flight, completed, trim. So, 5.75 units, 0 and 0. Taxi and takeoff briefing completed, before start checklist complete, down to the beacon. So let's go ahead and get our pushback tool, plan the pushback. So on to here, please, facing to the left, and that's it. Okay, so pushback clearance is received, beacon is coming on, and then let's go ahead and release that park and brake, please. So brake off, start pushback, and let's go. So small word here, the frame rate on the recording was a little bit laggy over the last minute or so, but that's literally just the recording. That's because the VRAM is running full with Inibill's Heathrow and all that good stuff. So, anyway, frames are perfect in my simulator, as you can see when I'm looking around over here. Now, let's go ahead and start up our engines. And it's going to be both engines at the same time, which you can do with the Rolls-Royce engines on the 777-200. At the same time, I'm going to go ahead and cancel that pushback over here once the airplane has kind of turned a bit. So like now. So stop pushback, please. Alright, brake set, and then starting the engines. Both at the same time. And here we go. So N3 is increasing pretty quickly, N2 is increasing, and 1 will eventually start to increase as well. Just gotta give it a little bit of time now. You can see that even though N3 is rather high already, N2 is just about at 10%, and 1 starts to rotate now. Here we go, fuel flow. The engines are spooling up, then we are going to see EGT now. And that is beautiful. So both engines are running up normally. For flight deck, your clear disconnect, show me the pin on the right hand side please, and have a wonderful day. Bye bye. And here we go, 2 good engine starts. I like it. So APU off, then flaps 5 and flight control check please. Full up. Full down. Neutral. Full left. Full right. Neutral. And the rudder. Full left. Full right. Neutral. Recall is checked, and before taxi checklist. Anti-ice, auto, recall, checked, flight controls checked, ground equipment clear, before taxi checklist complete. Okay, clear on the right side. Well, pushback wasn't really successful here, but we are pretty much clear on the left side. So park and brake released. A little bit of power. And let's go. It's a pity that all those pushback programs don't work properly anymore. These days, GSX isn't working for weeks at a time. Toolbar pushback isn't working properly either. At least, like half of the times. So yeah, that kind of brings us back to a time where I would hope that we would see pushback tools added in a little bit more complex manner to those add-on aircraft. It would be nice. Alright, clear left side, clear right side, then off to the right hand side to the threshold. Don't use as much oversteering with the 200ER as you would with the 300. If you're used to flying the freighter on the other hand side, those airframes have pretty much the same length. Okay, cool. So we're just waiting for our passengers to get ready now, respectively for the cabin to get ready. Therefore, I'm not going to accelerate aggressively here, just some 15 knots or so, and that's really all we need. So, still waiting for the cabin ready signal to come. I'm sure it will eventually. In the meantime, let's review our takeoff briefing. So it's going to be a left to takeoff of runway 09 right, flaps 5, noise abatement procedure number 2, takeoff speeds 147, 150, 165, and the engine outset is straight at 25 miles, climbing 3000, MSA 2000 and a bit, and if you need to make an immediate return, 09 left is going to be the landing runway. Well, and that's pretty much all I have. Any questions? No? Beautiful. And here we go, cabin ready. So, before takeoff checklist complete. Okay then, people at 9 Zulu Yankee Heavy, runway 09 right, cleared for takeoff. Cabin crew, prepare for departure. So, 09 right is confirmed. Approach area is clear. Strobe light on as we're entering the runway, and then I'm ready for a rolling takeoff. So, timing, and takeoff. Now listen to those Rolls-Royce engines. Just gotta love that spool sound, huh? Thrust set. 80 knots. Rotate. Positive climb. Gear up. LNAV. VNAV. Okay, flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. Flap 0. Respectively up. Speed checked. Flaps up. So, flaps are up, and after takeoff checklist, please. After takeoff checklist complete. So one of the things that I really like about those PMDG aircraft is that there are things included there which most people are just not gonna see. And the flight rector is one of those things. You know, you can really fly the aircraft extremely accurately by the flight director, and they have so many hours of video material of how the real flight director behaves that you can just really fly the airplane based on this, and it just acts exactly like the real one. That's the quality of PMDG that you just don't get anywhere else in terms of Boeing aircraft. Autopilot. And look at that, you change from manual flight into automatic flight and you don't even notice the autopilot engagement. Exactly as in the real aircraft. So, vertical speed, as we have only 2000 to go. Our engines are in climb thrust already, so we can cancel that timer down here. 1000 to go. And as I'm reducing my vertical speed, look at how slowly the aircraft is reacting to that. That's how a real aircraft reacts. It really is that slow. And that's not just for Boeing aircraft, that's also for Airbus aircraft. Because that way, passengers don't feel it. With so many other add-ons, they just, you know, pitch at incredibly quick rates, and no. This is how it's done. So let's continue our climb now. Let's say we want to go up to 10,000. Let's go level change here for a moment. Now look at the relation between auto thrust spooling up and the aircraft actually following in pitch. You can really see how gradually it increases the pitch here. That's the kind of thing that we want to see. That's beautiful. Okay, set standard. Standard cross check, passing flight level 64 now. Checked. Well, my friends, and that is true quality. So let's cancel all those altitude restrictions in here. And VNAV. So we'll climb with something like flight level 200 now. And while we're doing that, just a quick look down here. 2,000 feet a minute. You don't get much more with the 777-200. Unless, of course, you take the D-rates out and stuff like that, but compare it with the 300, which, even with the D-rates, often gives you incredible rates of climbs. The 200 isn't going to do that. The 200 is a totally different plane. So, just 2,000 feet a minute here, and we are not even close to the maximum takeoff weight. If we look down here, if you don't know your weights, just go into the operational flight plan, that one has them. You can see the max takeoff weight is close to 300 tons, and we're only at 233. Interestingly enough, that's pretty much the max takeoff weight of the A330, which does not climb as good as the 200ER does, just as a side note. But you really see the differences here between the aircraft types. Now, passing 100, lights off, signs off, and well, that's it. So, I tend to say from this point, things are going to get a little bit more relaxed. Probably you can fly direct to Maddock or something the likes. Like this, and execute. Alright, and with that we're up and in the air. And then I'm going to see you a little bit later. Enjoy the Atlantic crossing, and then we'll talk on the approach to Toronto. we're getting into range for arrival into Toronto. So let's take a seat on the captain's seat again and request our arrival weather to see what we're facing. So that's going to be Charlie Yankee Yankee Zulu. And we'll check the VATSIM ADAS with automatic updates sent. In the meantime, we can go over our FMS. So we got 0.84280, that looks quite okay. And the rest of our descent page looks okay. Then we have Charlie Yankee Yankee Zulu as our arrival airport, which we can draw a 25-mile ring around for the MSA. I don't think we'll need anything on the nav aids, and with that we can already get up our UFT in order to figure out the arrival data. So coming in via the Link 3 arrival, runway 05 left, 05, 06 left right are in use today, and our expected approach is going to be the ILS approach runway 6 left, which is the one right up here. Now for the airport charts, we definitely need the parking positions, and then we will also need the airport charts. So landing over here, 6 left, indicating the runway to the left, most likely Charlie 3, but we shall see about that. Down here we have a little chart when authorized by ATC. Intersection departures are available, and I could have sworn there was something like that for a guide which exit you shall vacate on, but let's not worry about that too much. So here's our weather. So Toronto Information X-ray 2200. Wind 100 at 8, visibility okay. Temperature 17, altimeter 29907. So let's put that one on here. So then, let's go ahead and have a look into the arrival data. Coming in from down here, Link 3 arrival Woozy transition. And we are flying from Woozy towards Easton, which is the boundary to Canada, and then on towards Ling. Now from Ling we continue towards setup, and that's between 11 and 13,000, speed 250 knots. And then towards Decro, setup 210 knots and 8,000 feet of beam field. Then towards Verco and towards Darku, Danib, Massar and Liran. And from there we're going to get radar vectors to try the final approach for runway 6 left. If we look into the chart, then the approach starts from Fayol, 3000, then we start our descent and cross Vatna in 2000 feet, and that's pretty much what we've got down here. 3-degree glide path matches the chart, and we go down to a minimum of 785. Case of go around, climb to 1100 on the heading of 057, then climbing right turn to 3100 feet on heading 132, then intercept the Toronto VOR radio 102 towards Tudak, climbing 3100 feet, and that's what we have down here. Wonderful. In terms of the MSA, 3100 is the highest, so 4000 all around is going to keep us safe. And I guess we can tune Toronto over here, Yankee Yankee Zulu. And that's the radio 102. Suppose we can tune this, we don't have to, but why not? Okay, so minimum 786 down here with the approach lights out, 735 with the approach lights on, and since they do work today, let's go ahead and dial that one in. So 735, that's here. And then last but not least, arrival fuel 8.7 tons versus 10.7 right now, so we're going to burn 2,000 kilos, which gives us an approximate landing weight of 185. Like this, so flaps 30 today, and then let's have a look into the performance tool, landing en route, Toronto runway 6 left, import aircraft details, import the weather, and calculate. So we need about 1,878 meters, so that should be pretty good to vacate the runway to the left on the rapid exit taxiway. And that's with auto brake 3. Well, wonderful. That's about everything we need to set up over here. With that, our setup is completed. Then let's start with our approach briefing, please. And there are no notes down here. Very good. Okay, cool. So, we are following the Link 3 arrival with a woozy transition for an ILS approach runway 6 left. And the minimum on this one is 735. Go around straight at 1100, right hand turn 3100, intercept radial 102 outbound. From Toronto we are 3100 feet. That's the MSA as well. And extra fuel and time we have, let's see, 8.7 on arrival versus 7.5. Our fuel flow is around 6,000 kilos, so we are looking at maybe 10 minutes of extra fuel in here. Alright, thank you very much for that. So, flight director guided ILS approach, flaps 30. We are going to use maximum reverse to shorten the brake cooling times, and we will use auto brakes 3 to vacate the runway to the left hand side. No hotspots for taxiing, and stop margin is somewhere around 1,000 and something meters. Let's see, yeah, 1.9, 3.0, so stop margin is about a kilometer. 1.1 kilometers. Okay, I have no threats for this one and nothing special. Do you have anything? No? Okay, perfect. So that's our arrival briefing complete. Then let me say goodbye to our passengers. In the meantime, quick check again. Review, flight uplinks, Toronto Asus Zulu, temperature 70. Ladies and gentlemen from FlightX, this is your captain speaking. We have almost reached our top of descent, starting our approach into Toronto. Remaining flight time now in the region of approximately half an hour. The weather in Toronto is very nice, few clouds in the sky, temperature 17 degrees. We'd like to thank you very much for choosing British Airways today. Hope you have enjoyed your flight and we look forward to working again on board of a future service. Thank you very much for your attention and we hope to see you all again soon. Alright, passengers are briefed, then let's do the descent checklist please. Recall, checked, notes, checked, auto brake, level 3, landing data. VREF 130, minimum 735. Approach checklist completed, descent checklist completed. So, reset MCP altitude, we'll do that in a moment. But first of all, let's continue our approach. And here we go, Toronto is in sight, straight ahead. We did already leave the arrival route and went on to a radar vector here, taking us straight onto the final approach. So let's go ahead and clean up the FMS with the direct to Fayol. And then we can select an inbound course of 057. That's going to give us an extended center line down here. Speed back towards 250 knots, then let's get that speed brake out. Speed brake, not thrust. Okay, and then we're going to get ourselves right back under that profile, 2,500 high at the moment, but the speed brake is super effective on the 777, so that's really not going to be any problem at all. Passing 10,000, lights on, signs on, and then we can do the approach checklist, please. Altimeters, QNH 29097. Approach check is complete. Alright, and then descent altitude 2,000 feet for the approach runway 6 left. So just look at that airplane. I think the proportions of the 200 are much nicer than those of the 300, aren't they? And look at that rate of descent down here. 3,800 feet a minute. Lovely. And before anyone comments on it, no, that rate of descent is really not a problem at all. Passengers aren't really gonna notice. I mean, look at this. What does it look like? Do you notice anything? Not really, are you? So let's go back up to the front and see how that's gonna go. We can stow the speed brake now, and we gotta stow that rather slowly in here. It's not an Airbus. In the Airbus you can just slam the lever to the top. The computers are going to retract the speed brake at a proper rate anyway. In the Boeing, be a little bit more careful with that. Your passengers are going to thank you for it. Okay, so I think we've done pretty much everything. Let's see if we can already make out our airport. It's got to be somewhere over there, I think. Right, so we'll cut slightly inside Fayol on the present heading. Let's have a look into the chart if we can do that. But I think we can. Yeah, look at that. Fayol is in 3000, then Vetna is in 2000. So let's already start a right-hand turn here, heading 340. Actually, even 350. Like that. 1000 to go.
Radio altimeter.
Checked. Okay, reducing airspeed. Vertical speed. So 500 feet a minute should be good. Let's extend that center line from Vetna real quick. And execute. Okay, looking fantastic. We are slightly fast at the moment, so let's just... Nah, tell you what, we're below the glide. We'll just fly down to 2000, and then the speed is going to reduce naturally. It is going to be a sporty approach this way, but let's see what our 777-200 ER can do. I think it will be able to do this. Flaps 1. Speed checked. Flaps 1. Okay, right 030, cleared ILS approach runway 06 left. Localizer capture. Flaps 5. Speed checked. Flaps 5. Okay, there's our runway in sight. Gear down. And flaps 50. Go around altitude, 3,100 sets. And we're in VMC, so the 500 foot gate applies. Flaps 20.
1000.
Checked. And flaps 30. So, landing checklist whenever ready, and manual flight. Landing checklist complete. So, passing the 500 foot gate, we are stabilized. %, and one seems to work pretty well. Okay, glide slope is checked, correcting.
50 above.
Checked.
Decide.
Continue.
100. 50. 30. 20. 10.
Speed brakes up. Thrust reverse normal. And 17 knots. Manual brakes. So, 7 hours of flight time. Welcome to Toronto. Vacating the runway to the left-hand side over here. Everything is clear on the left. So now comes the hard question of the taxi route. I think we're going to go to the left over here initially, and then we'll see about the rest thereafter. Alright, so runway vacated, starting APU, lights are set off, the flaps are coming up. Speed brakes in, auto brake off, and transponder onto alt off. Okay, my friends, and with that, welcome to Toronto Airport. Now, we do have a little bit of a taxi route ahead of us. So straight ahead for the time being, and then let's see if I can show you guys on the chart. So we will go next to the right. Well, not next, but kinda next. Not that one, not the next one, that one. So down towards 10 knots, clear on the right side and clear on the left side. Okay, so straight ahead over here, and then our taxi routing is going to lead us all the way straight over here until we reach Pier Charlie, then we're parking somewhere up here on the side. Alright, shut on engine 2. Single engine taxi is done fairly regularly on the 777, especially on the light ones, but on the heavy ones as well usually. And I have to say PMDG really nailed it. The single engine taxi feels fantastic in the aircraft. They've really done an excellent job on that. So keep going straight. We're not at this terminal, but at this terminal over there. So, next exit to the right. Let's get it down to 10 knots. And here we are. So we have engine shut on right, TCAS off, clear all of that. And here we go. The plane really feels great on single engine taxi. It barely tries to move to any side, which is absolutely correct. And you can see it even maintains its speed. Wonderful. Exactly how it should be. Okay, so our gate is coming up over here. We are going to go onto the dashed line. So lights off and the weather radar is off. So, no guidance system since GSX is inoperative. Then let's just slowly taxi up front over here and stop at a nice position. So, I think this should be good. Okay, brake set, APU running, and shut down. Cabin crew, all doors in park. Okay, cool. So the engine is shutting down. Seatbelts off, hydraulics off, waiting for the fault lights before turning off the ride system. Fuel pumps off, and the transponder into standby. Okay. So, shutdown checklist. Park and brake, set. Shutdown checklist complete. Alright then, let's go ahead and do our ground handling. So, ground operations, first of all, set the trucks, request the ground power. You can also connect the jetway. Services, aft cargo, bulk cargo, and forward cargo. And then door management, disarm all, and let's see where the jetway is going to connect to. If it is connecting anywhere. No, should be moving. No, actually I just pressed the wrong button again. Here we go. Jetway, connect. And they're going towards 2 left. Wonderful. So as soon as the jetway is connected, we can open the door, and that's gonna mark the end of today's flight. Here we go. Jetway is connected, then door management 2 left, open. And with that, my friends, welcome to Toronto. As always, I do hope you have enjoyed the flight. I do hope that you are enjoying the 777-200ER. I absolutely am. I really, really am. And I'm so happy to finally have an awesome long-haul aircraft in study-level quality in Flight Simulator 2024. For the time being, though, thank you very much for flying along. As always, I'm looking forward to your feedback. Be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. And if you really love what I'm doing on this channel, I would appreciate a small donation through the Buy Me Coffee link in the video description below. In the meantime, as always, like, comment, and subscribe, and I'm looking forward to see you all again on the next one.